Irashaimase! Hello and welcome to Fitaurus Kitchen. I'm your host, Chef Fitaurus. It's time once again for Shoot 'em Up Saturday. And on the menu for this Saturday, we have Gley Lancer, a shoot 'em up originally for the Sega Mega Drive with some innovative for the time systems. What kind of taste will it have? Let's get cooking and find out. As you press start, you're taken to the select mover system. Here we'll basically select the formation for our options in this game called movers. There are 7 possible choices. Normal and reverse act as a pair, and these two, the options will shoot in the direction you move or opposite the direction you move. Search is an auto homing function. Multi and multi-R, the options will sweep above and below the ship. Shadow is a more traditional option formation where the options will follow the ship, and roll, they'll sweep around the ship in a 360-degree circle. So what makes this system more unique is, or like I said for the time, each of these options has the ability to, or a special mode where you can use the gunner control button to, in the case of normal and reverse, lock your options in a particular direction, allowing you to concentrate fire in any of the 16 directions around you. Search, you can select between one or having them focus on 1 or 2 enemies at a time. The multiple and shadow will lock everything in place once again, and the roll, you can change the roll mode that you're using. So for today, I'll be using the normal mode so we can see the locking of the options in action. It's similar to the system that would later be used in Gradius 5, which is awesome to see it come in so early. We had a little bit of awesome Genesis voice synth there. Twin shot! So now that we have a mover, we can see a little bit of how that works. With it locked in the forward position, I can concentrate firepower, or if with enemies that spawn behind me, for example, I can set it behind. We also have the ability to control our speed. It generally starts at 1 and can increase all the way up to 4 or back down to 1. It's also possible to set a default in the options if you have a particular preference of your starting speed. So in addition to the 7 mover systems, we also have 7 possible weapons we can pick up. So far we've seen the twin, the laser twice now, and the 5-way. We also have the burner, the bound shot, the saber, and the spread bomb. So as I was noting in my introduction, Gley Lancer was originally released for the Sega Mega Drive, meaning the Japanese version of the Genesis. It didn't receive an international release until the Wii Virtual Console many years later. Here we are at the boss of Stage 1. The bosses generally aren't too much of a problem in this game, but one thing that could potentially be an issue is the game doesn't restart you exactly where you die, it rather uses a checkpoint system. If you happen to die, especially against a boss, you're set to a previous checkpoint and you have to work your way back to said boss or throughout whichever section you happen to be moving through in the game. Back to the release of Gley Lancer. So originally the game would be in Japanese. To what degree, I'm actually not 100% certain. but there was an English fan translation created for the title, and that happens to be the version that I'm playing right now. Though I haven't shown any of it, there's actually a relatively lengthy anime-esque intro to the game itself. Basic plot is that the Earth Federation is battling this alien menace, and the alien menace is kidnapped or shipnapped the flagship of the Earth Federation's first fleet, along with, of course, the admiral of said fleet, Ken Cabrick. So the character we're playing is his daughter, Lucia Cabrick, who happens to be not sure if she's necessarily a cadet or a full-fledged pilot, but she's an ensign in the Earth Federation's Navy. Naturally being distraught about the loss of her father, she commandeers the prototype fighter Gley Lancer and sets out to rescue him. So, you know, relatively standard fare for shoot-'em-up stories, but it is nice that it has the extra cutscenes. So in addition to the opening cutscene, there's of course some cutscenes spread throughout the game itself. They come every 3 or 4 stages. And then there's also the exits, or the ending credits themselves. It is actually possible to get multiple endings in the title as well, a good one and a bad one. We find ourselves already at the boss of Stage 2. He reminds me vaguely of the Gradius Moai heads, though shooting torpedoes at us and that tentacle he's like reaching out to get us with. Stage 2 cleared. Moving on to Stage 3. So that particular weapon there is the saber, which I will not take for the immediate time being. Actually, I guess I will take it. It's probably my least favorite weapon in the game. It acts as a short-range beam weapon, but unlike so many titles where that kind of weapon is one of your highest power, best damage dealers, even with the mover system, the lack of control and the short range you have with it just really makes it an inefficient choice to use. So Gley Lancer is a title I was quite happy to have discovered. I took the time to play all the way through it and thoroughly enjoyed my playthrough as well. I feel that it's definitely a great innovative title for the time, though it does have a few setbacks that were common with shoot-'em-ups from this era. The implementation of checkpoints can prove to be an issue. So plus flavors for the title, I definitely think the gunner control system, especially for the time, is great, and it was something that we saw implemented in several titles that would come years after Gley Lancer. In addition to that, the game actually has a surprising length. There are a total of 12 stages to them, some of them on the shorter side, some of them on the longer side. But it adds up to some really solid and lengthy gameplay. Also, if you're a fan of Genesis and Mega Drive synth, it has a great soundtrack. So some minus flavors that I believe the game has. I don't like checkpoint systems at all. The game does alright with it, as there are multiple checkpoints throughout the course of the stage, so if we were to make reasonable progress through a stage, you're not being set back as far. But it's still nothing that I'm a particular fan of. In addition, sometimes the background choices and the parallax scrolling, while something that I really enjoy, like it makes the screen a little bit too busy from time to time. Still, these are relatively minor complaints for a title that I thoroughly enjoyed my playthrough of. So, if you're looking to try something that you might not have heard of or seen before, I would definitely recommend giving Gley Lancer a try. Either picking it up on the Wii U Virtual Console, or maybe seeking out the English translation patch as well. Though, truthfully, the story is pretty throwaway, so the choice is yours. As always, I want to thank you so much for coming out and joining me for Shoot 'em Up Saturday today, and I look forward to seeing you again next week.